Hello, Rotarians and guests, come on in. Welcome to the Rotary Club of San Jose and meeting number 5,523. Welcome, everyone. So glad you're here. My name is Matt Breaker, and I have the honor and privilege of leading our meetings in our club for this Rotary year. So we've got a great show ahead of us. So thanks, everyone, for coming today. As everyone's getting settled, one more time. I wanted to start off by saying thank you to today's greeting line. Today's all about Rod Dirodon, folks, and today's greeting line was the Rod Squad, which is about 40 folks strong. Can I have the Rod Squad stand up for a little recognition here today? These are the folks who were sponsored by the fabulous Rod Dirodon. Yes, thank you so much. That was just terrific to see them, so many of them here today, as Rod's going to be recognized again. That's just wonderful. Today on the traveling mics have been shaking it up. Jenny is back there in the house. Hello.
Hello, President Matt. Hello.
Great to see you. Thanks for subbing in here.
Yes.
Tell us again who your sponsor is.
My sponsor is Sarge Lerone. Give it up.
Wonderful. Yeah,
Yes.
that's great. Terrific. Well, thank you. And
welcome.
you're in full red badge mode, checking things out, coming to the meetings. So thank you. Do you have did we find a partner for you or no? Here we go, Teresa. Wonderful. Hello. And you were going to meet you today, but who is your sponsor?
Hi.
We need the microphone up.
Arthur Weisbrot.
Okay, terrific. Well, thank you both. Today, good news, folks. Good news is we've got several guests in the house, which is terrific, and we've also got a nice full agenda today. So what that means on the other side is that we're not going to be doing formal guest introductions, unfortunately, but I do want to take a moment and ask all of our guests today to please stand up, and let's give them a nice warm Rotary welcome. If you're a Rotary guest here today. Yes, thank you so much. We usually do a formal introduction of each guest. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to do that today, but please come back, check us out at another meeting where we'll be able to do that and hear a little bit more about you, so thank you. We do have, is Gloria, where's Gloria? Somewhere. There we go. There's Gloria. Hello. We're going to hear about Rod's eulogy for Rod. I just wanted to recognize Gloria's here. I believe Mary is here. Is Mary? There we go. Hello, Mary. And Rod Dirodon Jr. is somewhere in the house here. Maybe not yet. He's on his way. But so glad you're here today. And we look forward to celebrating Rod's amazing life. We did it with the so many people who he sponsored into a club. We're going to hear a little bit more about him. But I'm so glad you're here today. So thank you. Also, I wanted to recognize our district governor, Herb Ritter, is in the house right over here. Teresa, if you could hand him the microphone for a quick second. Yes, and he's got a quick announcement staying on the Rod theme here. So please.
Oh, okay.
Let me just find my note here. Thank you all so much. I'm so honored to be here. Rod was such an inspiration for me throughout my district governor year. I got to visit 63 clubs and say, hi, my name's Herb Ritter. Ken McDonald was my sponsor. That's what he taught me to do. So we created the Member Sponsor Award this year, and we gave out, everybody that brought in a new member got a free, they raffled to go to the district conference in Reno. So Rod was an inspiration. But the other thing I want to announce is the district's creating a new award in Rod's name. It's called the Climate Action Award. Rod Dirodon, will you be able to look your children and grandchildren in the eyes in the coming decades and answer with a clear heart that you did everything in your power to support the environment when there still is time? And we're calling this the Rod Dirodon Rotary District 510 Climate Action Award.
Wonderful, wonderful.
And at the very bottom of it, it says, become a Rotary member sponsor and give the gift of Rotary to someone. So thank you all for giving the gift of Rotary to someone. And it's actually going to be a wooden award, non-plastic, because Rod would appreciate that.
Exactly. Thank you,
very
Herb.
much.
Thank you so much. So glad you're here today, and what a wonderful way to tribute Rod. And we're going to start things off, folks, by hearing some words about Rod Dearudon and his life. And to do that, we're going to hear from past President Karen Philbrick and from the fabulous Megan Floop. They're going to make their way up here. Last time we had a eulogy, it was for Skip Franich, and past President Gary Giannini was up here, and he said something at the beginning that I thought was so spot on. He said, we're going to hear a eulogy about someone's life. Please, let's turn the phones on off, and let's put the forks down. So with that, let's show some love to past President Karen Philbrick and Megan Floop.
I will, of course, keep my fork in my hand if you remember me from being president. Little trick, if you ever get emotional, you cause physical pain and it helps you get through the emotionality of what you're trying to say. So we all knew and loved Rod, but I just want to take you on a walk through his life, at a glance, if you will, because if we were to talk about all of his accomplishments and his accolades, we would be here for the rest of the year, happily so. But let's just go back to the beginning. He actually worked his way through college as a railroad brakeman and fireman, so he came into transportation honestly. He suffered from severe dyslexia, but developed the coping strategies necessary to go on and earn an MBA from San Jose State University. In fact, I wear this today in his honor because he liked to say that his family bled blue and gold. They were Spartans through and through. After graduating from college, he went on to serve 2 combat tours in Vietnam as an anti-submarine warfare and weapons officer. Some people did not realize that, but even as recently as November, he would show up in his dress uniform and be in the parade every year for Veterans Day. After he successfully chaired his neighborhood homeowners association, which causes me pause right there for good reason. Anybody who chairs their HOA, they've got some spunk. But he became the youngest elected official to the City Council of Saratoga following his successful stint on the HOA. He was then elected to the Santa Clara Board of Supervisors, where he served 5 terms, and he was president for 6 of his, pardon me, you guys, I'm feeling a little emotional. He was term limited out of office, but during his time, he chaired the San Francisco Bay Area's 3 major governments, and that's the Metropolitan Transportation Commission, the Bay Area Quality Management District, the Association of Bay Area Governments. He chaired over 100 national and international committees and boards, and I could go on, but what he leaves behind is a legacy dedicated to people. He didn't just think transportation was moving people from A to B. He knew that it was giving them life-saving opportunities for connection, for being, for belonging, for places of employment and places of health care. But you know that he brought his passion to Rotary. You saw the people in the hallway. We practically outnumbered the people coming through the door. We have over 40 active Rotarians to this day, which we lovingly named the Rod Squad during my presidential year. But in all, he recruited over 150 individuals into this club in his 51-year history as a member. And we applaud him for that and share his legacy. He also received the 2016 Don Goldine Award for his contributions to this very club, an award he was very proud of and that stood out for him in a long history of public accolades. But you know that his passion was high-speed rail, so I'll end with a note about that. Because Rod never did anything like typical. He served a 10-year term on the California High-Speed Rail Authority when you were really only allowed 8 years. So he has strongly fought for transportation equity for all for his whole life. And I'm going to end with a quote that is very powerful from a friend. Anytime anyone gets on a train, rides a bike, visits open parks, goes to Dearudon Station, he's here with us. He's not in the background. He's living through the people of this region. And I will ask you, if you were part of the Rod Squad, to look back at your life and to think of all of the positions he gently set you up for, because he was constantly working behind the scenes to uplift and take care of others. May he rest in peace.
Thought I wasn't going to get emotional, but I had to take off my jacket. I was sharing this with a friend last night, and she gave me a beautiful practice for eulogies to imagine that the person who had passed away is right here with us, getting to hear these words. I'm holding that close to my heart right now. Rod Dearden Sr. was the kind of man you felt like you had always known. He didn't introduce himself so much as he recruited you, and once he decided that you belonged somewhere, that was simply that. When I was the executive director of Green Foothills, he asked me to join Rotary. I declined. He asked me again. I declined again. By the 5th or 6th time, I jokingly said, "All right, Rod, if you up your donation to Green Foothills, I'll join." I should not have been surprised. He did, for 2 years. That was Rod. Persistent, generous, unflappable in his belief in other people. If you were part of the Rod Squad or lucky enough to call him a friend, you know exactly what I'm talking about. He invested deeply in relationships. You couldn't help but say yes to him because he made you feel like you were exactly the right person to help. And if you said no, well, he'd be back. The grammar of death turns people who pass into a was. But that just feels outright wrong for Rod. His fingerprints are everywhere in this valley, a living testament to what one relentless person can do. He slowed sprawl in Santa Clara County while on the Board of Supervisors. He grew county parks from 800 acres to 43,000 acres. He championed the light rail system, fought for the Los Gatos Creek Trail, and the community he served named its central train station after him. He drove electric since 1996, and he founded our club's Environmental Sustainability Committee because he saw Rotary, all of Rotary, as a vehicle for climate action. And he showed up again and again and again for civic leadership. Even when he was sick, he kept showing up. He was tough as nails on fossil fuels and tender with people. He championed Rotary recruitment like no other, particularly of strong women. He made you feel like you belonged from the moment that you walked in. And if you missed a couple of meetings, Rod checked in with an email or a phone call asking, "Are you okay?" While he juggled countless projects and commitments, Rod was never too busy to know if you were missing. Gloria, I know that he loved you with the same wholeheartedness. And it was so easy to see every time I looked at you or talked about you. Rod is gone, but this room is filled with people he believed in. None of us can fill his shoes, but we must try. Rod knew that repetition, let's see if I can get to the slide. There we go. Rod knew that repetition is how you change minds. And no issue is closer to him and to his heart than disrupting humanity's current path towards climate catastrophe. And I think he would appreciate all of us speaking his words as much as he gets a much-deserved rest. We're going to know in a couple of decades if we've been able to stave off the 6th mass extinction. Can you honestly look your children in the eyes and say that you did everything you could to reduce fossil fuel consumption? We are not going to make it if we do not reduce fossil fuel use, and it won't be pretty. The people who are most vulnerable, who've done the least to create the climate crisis, will be impacted first and most. The fossil fuel industry is hoodwinking us into thinking that if we don't eat meat or if we recycle, that it'll be enough, but it won't. We must stop consuming fossil fuels. That was Rod. This is Rod. His legacy lives on every time we repeat his words and every time we act on them. So, in honor of Rod, I'll ask each of you to consider an action that you can take to help us get off fossil fuels. I bet you might already have an idea of something you might do. I'd like to imagine Rod tapping on each of our shoulders right now with his persistent energy and his loving smile. If not you, who? If not now, when? Love you, Rod. We miss you dearly. Rest in peace, rest in power.
Rod Deardon, Sr., may his memory be a blessing. Okay. We will transition to, we'll talk about some little fellowship here, because that was something Rod enjoyed about our club as well. Here we go. We had, it's not showing up there, but we had the last of our firesides season this past week at the wonderful Pam Foley's home in District 9, as she likes to call it. It was a fabulous event out in her backyard with a nice Asian theme. You can see the koi ponds were out there, brought in some homemade Asian food. Lots of Rotarians came out for the fellowship, and it was just a wonderful event. And I know that's the close of them, the firesides for this year, but next year they will be back. And folks, if you haven't been to one, I encourage you. They're just a wonder. I'm on repeat here, or as my kids say, you're on loop. But they're just a wonderful way to meet new Rotarians and spend some time with Rotarians you may know but haven't seen in a while. And Pam and Mike, thank you so much for hosting. It was a great way to close out the fireside season. Next up, new members, folks. We've been doing, as we've heard, Rod was the king of bringing new members, so we're going to have a new member introduction. Teresa Frank is in the house. I saw her. If you could make your way up here, Teresa, that would be great. Yeah, you're coming up here. That's what you're doing. You can leave the mic there. Exactly. Teresa is sponsored by Arthur Weisbrot. Arthur, you can come up if you'd like, or you can whatever you prefer. Arthur, you've sponsored a lot of people this year, so thank you so much for that. Folks, for new member introductions, I remind you that the full biography is in the lobby. It's on the bulletin. It's in social media. And it's on our website. And I encourage you to go out there and read it about Teresa, learn about her life. We've got a few fun facts here to get a little bit to know her. But one of the things we've been doing to sort of create connections is we've been playing a little either-or game. So it's 12:31. Seems like the perfect time for the afternoon stretch. If everyone can get back on their feet, I think you know the routine. If you don't, what we're going to do is we're going to ask some either-or questions to create some connections. I'll have you stand right over here, Teresa. Right here. If you have the same answer, stay standing. If you have a different one, take a seat, but keep listening. You might have some other things in common. We're going to see who's got a fair number of things. We'll lead things off, as we seem to always do, with some music-related event.
Oh, okay.
Would you rather listen to live music or a Spotify playlist?
Should I answer that?
Yes, you should.
Live.
Live music is the answer. Ooh, got a lot of live music. Well, that was a good question to break up the room. Piano
Stay
player,
with me.
folks. Arthur, have you been having her come to the book club to play the piano? You should do
Absolutely.
that. Absolutely. Wonderful.
Oh, I play
Okay.
piano there. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
true. Next question. Are you more in the category of planning things or spontaneous?
Planning things.
She's a planner. Oh my God, I may not have enough questions.
I'm a retired dentist, so I had to put,
Okay, next question. Who's your preference? George Strait or Elvis? And I'll give a bonus prize to anyone who can name what country music song that question came out of. George Strait or Elvis? Who's your preference?
Elvis.
Okay, one more. Early bird or night owl?
Night owl.
Night owl. There we go. Okay, if you're still standing, here's what I want you to do. At the end of the meeting, Teresa's going to be standing in the back. Go up, introduce yourself, invite her to come sit with you at another meeting, talk to her about what committees you've been on, and invite her to join them. And with that, one more time on your feet for a nice, warm Rotary welcome.
Oh. Oh. Thank you so much. You know, that's why I love music so much. I accompanied a Chinese tenor one time, and he didn't speak much English. I don't speak any Chinese, and we were just making music together. I think, we'd have a better world if, yeah, we all get along and play music.
Well, thank you so much. We're excited to have you here. Welcome. No worries. And Arthur, thank you again for the sponsorship. You've been bringing in Rotarians left and right this year, so that's terrific. Okay, next up, the flip side of the Red Badger, new member, is the Blue Badge, folks. We're shaking it up, Jason, sorry. And for those folks, guests who, I'll have the Blue Badgers work their way up while I'm saying this. For our guests and folks who don't know this, when you join the club, you're a Red Badger for 1 year. You're on that committee. You meet once a month to get to know your fellow Red Badgers. They bring in speakers, so you learn the history of the club, the amazing things the club's doing in the community, what all the different committee options are. You do a club service project together, and then you work at the barbecue together. And then at the end of your year as a Red Badger, we trade in the Red Badge for the Blue Badge, and that's exactly what we're going to do today. So we've got several folks. Julie Anderson, we're going to go in alphabetical order. Julie Anderson, here she is. What do I do? You give me that, and I give you this. And you stay right over here for a photo. Thank you so much. Show some love to Julie, folks. Ben Leach, here we go. There we go. Thank you so much. Whoa, we don't want that. Michael Mulcahy, come on down. Show some love. Here we go. That's right. Get your groove on. Thank you so much.
My second time.
Okay. Madison to win. Here we go. Sponsored by past President Heather Lerner. I know that one by heart. Okay. Zach Suggs, come on down. Thank you. Michelle Zhang. And Yamei Zai, here we go. Come on over. Okay, we'll take a little group photo. Talk amongst yourselves, folks. Here we go. A little closer, please. All right. Thank you so much. Yeah, I love those Blue Badgers coming on. Okay, next, folks. We are going to learn about the Sid Hart legacy. And to give us a little bit of this background is the fabulous Jason Stein. Now, walk-up music is not always tailored to the topic at hand. Sometimes it's tailored to the personality. Jason, do you know what the song is?
Saturday Night.
Oh, my God. More on that in coming weeks. Show some love to Jason Stein, folks. Do you want that or do you want this?
I don't care.
Go right there.
The shift? No, the arrow.
The arrow right
Yeah, yeah. Hello. In 2010, one extraordinary gift changed the future of the Rotary Club of San Jose Foundation. Longtime Rotarian Sid Hart left a transformational $750,000 bequest to our club's foundation. That gift inspired the creation of the Sid Hart Legacy Society and encouraged us to think beyond immediate projects and towards the long-term future of our club. Today, the Society encourages members to consider including the foundation in their estate plans. Our foundation has distributed over $9 million in grants and special projects. Endowed gifts help ensure Rotary's work continues for generations to come. Last year, Foundation's president, Audrey Fox, asked me to chair a committee focused on reconnecting with current Legacy Society members and begin the conversation with prospective ones. I'd like to recognize our committee members listed here and ask them to please stand. We currently have 34 Legacy Society members, representing an estimated future value of more than $2 million committed to our foundation. You might ask yourself, how do I become a member? Actually, it's quite simple. If you have already included the Rotary Club of San Jose Foundation in your estate plans, or intend to, all you need to do is complete the confidential statement of intent form and return it to Leslie. Just as Sid Hart made a lasting investment in the future of Rotary, we hope others will consider to do the same.
Thank you, Jason. Important stuff. The foundation's doing great work. Thank you. Okay, next up, it's becoming a tradition, 4th of July, what the Rotary Club does on 4th of July. Show some love to Ben and Matt and Gigante here.
Hi, everybody. Thought it would only be appropriate to bring a friend. Invite you all back out to the ballpark for the 4th of July and the 4th of July fireworks extravaganza, courtesy of the San Jose Rotary Club. For those of you who have been out the last couple of years, the Rotary Club exclusively has the nice third base patio down the third base line right on top of the action and a perfect view of the largest fireworks show in San Jose on the 4th. It is 8 times bigger than our normal fireworks show with the San Jose Giants. It's a great time at the ballpark. First pitch is at 6:30. Gates open at 5. Show up, have a ballpark buffet, and of course, lots of beverages and fellowship. So hope to see you out here. More information on the Rotary website, and I'm sure we'll be up here again. But come out and see Higante, give him a hug, and enjoy the 4th of July.
And then, of course, that same day, we take part in the Rose, White, and Blue Parade. That is the parade that runs down the Alameda. A lot of fun. We did it last year. Probably about 50 or 60 Rotarians and family members who walked or rode bikes with us. You're welcome to walk. You're welcome to ride a bike. Get fun and festive. Wear some colorful red, white, and blue, one might suggest, of course. Your favorite kilt, if you have one. Highly recommend it. Good for the wind. We're going to meet up around 8:30 to 9:30 in the morning for walking and biking. And then we're going to walk down the parade, have some fun. And then I believe our friend Sarah Janigan, am I lying or am I correct, hosting a lovely little get-together at her home again, which is a short walk from the parade end. So if you're interested, we'll have a sign-up shortly for you to let us know you're going to be coming. And we hope to see you on the 4th of July. Thank you, everyone.
You'll notice I didn't take a picture with the 6'3" crowd over there, but leaving that alone. Okay. Yeah, July 4th, it's the kickoff to the Rotary year. So President Tim is going to be out there, President-elect Tim. He'll be President Tim then is going to be there leading the way. I'll be there. It's a fun event. Get on out there and come to the ball game afterwards. It's just a great way to celebrate freedom. Okay, we got some announcements to do here. We're having the annual Bryan Adams Mini Masters on May 3rd. The QR code is there. Pull out your camera, take a picture of it, sign up. This is a great event. You get together, you play a little mini golf, you mingle, you're put up in teams. There might be some prizes, a little food and drink afterwards. There's room to still sign up. I encourage everyone to do it. It's a lot of fun. Next announcement, on June 6th, the Lee Weimers Emerging Artist Awards Committee is hosting a garden party and fundraiser for their committee, which gives out the scholarships each year, and helping with that. On June 6th, 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. At the home of Mike Bohr. Again, we've got a QR code for you. I encourage you to come. It's going to be great. Mike Bohr always throws a great party. And then this is a double header for Rotary on June 6th. 2 to 5, you go to the boards, you drink some wine, you hang out, you schmooze, you kibitz. Friendly gossip in Yiddish. That's what that means. And then later that night, is the Rotary Symphony event with Rotary. We're going to go. We're going to get a back room tour of the symphony and see the show that day. That's going to be a fabulous event. So you can do both events. That's going to be great. We've got a new committee at Rotary. We've got the Rotary Cycling Committee. And yeah, that's right. June 14th is the kickoff here. It may not be the kickoff, but we'll call it an official announcement here. Flag Day Ride, 8 a.m. Another QR code. Also, you can get some information about it in the lobby. I know we've got a lot of bicyclists in this crowd, so hope to see a big turnout for that and some great photos afterwards. Next week, our speaker is going to be Scott Myers-Lipton, a professor of sociology and interdisciplinary social sciences at San Jose State, talking about the legacy of Tommy Smith and John Carlos and its implications for today. I'm confident it's going to be a very good and interesting talk. I look forward to myself, but we've got a great talk today that I'm looking forward to. Seeing the slides, it's going to be very good. And Chuck Cantrell is going to do our introductions. So, folks, show some love to Chuck, please.
Hello, everyone. Well, it's actually my honor to introduce our speaker today, Dr. Lerone A. Martin. This afternoon, Dr. Martin is the Martin Luther King Jr. Centennial Professor in Religious Studies at Stanford University, where he also serves as the director of the Martin Luther King Jr. Research and Education Institute and senior editor of the King Papers Project, helping steward the legacy of Dr. King for a new generation. He is nationally recognized as a historian of religion whose work sits at the intersection of faith, race, and the American public life, and has received major fellowships from organizations such as the National Endowment for Humanities and American Council of Learned Societies. His award-winning books include Preaching on Wax, The Phonograph and the Making of Modern American Religion. I used to spin at a radio station in St. Louis, and we'd always play the religious shows first. it was great. Anyway, let's see. Oh, of course, his other book, The Gospel of J. Edgar Hoover, How the FBI Aided and Abetted the Rise of White Christian Nationalism, a book that has sparked important conversations about power, conscience, and who we decide to trust in our public life. Beyond the titles and honors, what really strikes me about Dr. Martin is his ability to tell stories that connect big issues in real life. Whether it's a young Martin Luther King Jr. finding his voice, or everyday people wrestling with questions of justice, faith, and belonging, his commentary has appeared on NBC, on the Today Show, PBS, C-SPAN, CNN, and NPR, which is always on in my car, as well as the New York Times and the Boston Globe. He has recently released a new book. I think it's out now, May 5th. It's out? All right, excellent. Young King, The Making of Martin Luther King Jr., a graphic novel adaptation to reach younger readers will follow soon, hopefully very soon. Oh, all right. Next week here? Oh, excellent, excellent. Great. I know where to get a copy. You can see how committed he is to making history accessible and hopeful, not just for scholars, but for communities like ours. It is a real privilege to have him in our club today, and I'm honored to introduce Dr. Lerone Martin.
I want to thank Chuck for that wonderful introduction. I want to thank Karen and Richard for the invitation. And I want to thank all of you for coming. I say this sincerely. Anytime someone who's not your mom is interested in reading your homework, it's always a joy, and I don't take it for granted. And my older brother has jokingly told me that even my mom is jiving that she hasn't read the book either, but older brothers are always kidding their little brothers. But I'm really thankful to be here with all of you. As you heard, I direct the MLK Institute at Stanford University. With the genius of Coretta Scott King, the Institute was founded in 1986. The founding director was Dr. Claiborne Carson. Some of you may know him, and I'm the second person to lead that institute at Stanford. Our mission is to preserve and promote the work and legacy of MLK. Our vision is to be a global destination and leader for the study and public understanding of the original works of Dr. King. When I started the job 4 years ago, I had the opportunity to read things that I had never seen before. Some of the things that I came across were actually letters from Martin Luther King Jr. as a child. And it really got me thinking about what went into making someone like Martin Luther King Jr. And so as you heard, I've recently published a book, The Young King, The Making of Martin Luther King Jr. This is him at the age of 6 on the cover of the book, already looking handsome and dapper in a suit. And as I began to think about those questions, I also thought about my family. This is my family here. I'm the father of 3 boys. I solicit your thoughts and prayers. Especially for the teenager there. Don't let the kind smile fool you. There is no cure for the disease called being a teenager. But because of these guys, I thought a great deal about the letters that I was reading in our archives, letters that we've published on our website, from Martin Luther King Jr. as a child, and of course in being dragged to go to so many Marvel movies, I also learned that every hero has a backstory. Every hero has a backstory that explains their power, explains their moral compass, explains how they got to be who they are. And so I wanted to know more about King's origin story, and that's the origin story of this book. King was like any other child. He's pictured here with his older sister, Christine, there. Also a picture with his younger brother, A.D. And like any other child, he was curious, got into a little trouble. In fact, Christine says that he was a bullheaded brother. He would take her dolls, dismember them, and hide them throughout the house and make it so that she'd have to find them. Some of you who had little brothers are shaking your head like, yes, I'm familiar, yes. And he used to get in fights with his brother, A.D., as you pictured here. Although they were a year and a half apart, A.D. quickly grew taller than Martin and bigger than Martin and used to bully him. So King was like any other child growing up, but one of the things, and this picture of him again at age 6, was that King was also very curious. He wanted to start school early. His older sister was a little more than a year older than him, and so she went off to school there in Atlanta, Georgia when she turned 5. That was the state law. King, at age 4, wanted to go off and go to school, and he begged his parents to let him go. And so they actually let him go. And for the first semester, King there from September all the way to December did fairly well in school. But then on his 5th birthday, as you all know, his birthday is in January, he went to school bragging about the big birthday cake he had and the 5 big candles on there. And the teacher realized that he had started school before he was 5. And so I regret to tell you that the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. that we all know was expelled from school. So King, like any other child, had curiosity, and he wanted to go off to school. But one of the things that he decided very early on was that, and this is a family photo, was that he did not want to be a minister. He decided very early on he wanted to be a lawyer. He wanted to change the conditions of America, which he had experienced. And here you see him pictured right in front of his maternal grandmother. He was very, very close to her. He called her Mama, in fact, and she lived with the family. And it's Mama, he says, that whetted his appetite with curiosity. She read to him every evening. She read the newspaper. She read encyclopedias. She read books. She read all types of things. And Christine says this is where Martin gathered his love of reading, his love of books. He could memorize long passages even at an early age. But he was very determined not to be a minister. It is when this important person in his life, his grandmother, when she passed away, this is when Martin Luther King Jr. experienced his first real crisis of faith. This was the first person he'd ever lost that was close to him. And so when she died, he blamed himself. She died at a time when he had, like many young adults, he was 12 years old at the time, had fibbed to his parents. So he was supposed to be at church in the evening. Many of you know his father, pictured here, was a minister. And he had told his parents that he couldn't go to church that evening because he had too much homework to do. But instead, he snuck off and went downtown to a parade. And while he was downtown at that parade, his grandmother died. And so in his 12-year-old mind, it was his fault that his grandmother had died. And so he was angry at God. His father says he cried for days, didn't sleep. And this is the moment that King himself says he became agnostic. This was probably my biggest surprise in researching this book, is that Dr. King, the Reverend Dr. King, says that he actually doubted faith. He began going to Sunday school and asking questions of a Sunday school teacher and doubting the very resurrection of Jesus. And those of you who are Protestant or are familiar with the Protestant religion know that that is a key portion of the faith. King began to doubt that. And he even began to fight in school. He began to be aggressive. He invented this phrase. He would go up to people and he would say, "Let's go to the grass," meaning let's go fight. And even in our archive, I found one of his early report cards. And this may be difficult to read, but you see there, this is from his PE teacher. And the PE teacher underneath sportsmanship says, "Makes unkind remarks." So this was a young man who was dealing with a crisis of faith. He was angry at losing a loved one. And he really leaned into wanting to be a minister. And so in school, while he had a great memory, and he was very curious, he struggled a bit with certain skills. Like many of the children that I've taught throughout my career, some of you may know as well, sometimes children struggle with the basic skill set of grammar, punctuation. But he had a great teacher who understood this. Her name was Sarah Grace Bradley. And she was a part of a civic organization much like your own. And she recognized his curiosity, his ability, so she began taking him around town to speech contests. While he wasn't the best writer, she knew that he was a great speaker. And so she took him around to speech contests, and he actually won a contest at his high school and then went on to the state contest. So here he is, pictured here, 15 years old in the local newspaper, already sporting a nascent mustache and a tie, looking like the Martin Luther King Jr. we all have come to know. But it's also during this trip, going to the state competition, that King experiences a moment that is transformative. Coming home from the trip, he doesn't win, he's coming home, and the bus stops in Macon, Georgia, on its way back to Atlanta. And the bus driver, you all know the Jim Crow laws that used to govern this country, especially in the South. The bus driver stops and says that King has to give up his seat for all the white passengers coming on board. And for some reason, this 15-year-old boy refused. Long before the Montgomery bus boycott, long before he was the King that we know, this 15-year-old boy refused to give up his seat. The bus driver got out of his chair, came back and began screaming and cursing at Martin King and his school teacher. People on the bus began rumbling, begging King to give up his seat. Eventually he gave up his seat and had to stand for more than 50 miles all the way back to Georgia. King says about that evening, he says, "That night will never leave my memory. It was the angriest I had ever been." And so King, at this moment in his life, decides that he is going to forego his senior year of high school. He's going to go off and he's going to now try to go to college. He applies early to Morehouse. Many of you know that at this time that the young men of this country in 1944 were being shipped off to go to war in Europe. And so Morehouse had a lack of students, and so they offered up an early enrollment program, and King applied to this early enrollment program. And King was accepted and eventually enrolled at Morehouse in 1944 in the fall. But I noticed something in our archive. When King applied to divinity school 4 years later, in 1948, he wrote something on his divinity school application. Now, this was someone who had sworn off the ministry, someone who had said he wanted to be a lawyer, and then 4 years later, he's applying to divinity school, and I wanted to know why. And this is the application for divinity school. And King says, here in this handwriting, his own handwriting, and the question is, why did you apply to seminary? And he says, my call to the ministry was quite different from most explanations I've heard. This decision came about in the summer of 1944 when I felt an inescapable urge to serve society. In short, I felt a sense of responsibility which I could not escape. Now, all the biographies I've ever read always skip this portion about King's life. They kind of assume that he just always wanted to be a minister, that he somehow came out of the womb in a shirt and tie ready to do battle. But this tells us something different. So I wanted to know what happened in the summer of 1944 that led this 15-year-old boy to decide he no longer wanted to be a lawyer, that he wanted to be a minister. What happened that summer? And what I discovered is that King that summer went off to pick tobacco. King went off to Connecticut, the Coleman Brothers farm, to pick shade tobacco in Simsbury, Connecticut. Morehouse had a program there where they took students, about 100 that year, to Simsbury, Connecticut to pick shade tobacco. Now, because of the heat there was cheesecloth placed over the tobacco rows and allowed the tobacco to grow in a shaded atmosphere, thin, smooth paper used to wrap tobacco cigars. And King was there working that summer. This is some gentlemen who were there as well that summer who also went to Morehouse, pictured there laying in the tobacco rows. And that summer, King worked there in the tobacco rows. He was only about 5'6", so he was working through the rows, scooting through the rows, picking tobacco, planting tobacco. But that summer changed his life. The letters we have that he wrote home from that summer, they drip with excitement. They drip with the idea of everything that is new. The letters say, we go to any place we want to, he says, he wrote to his parents, and anywhere we want to. I never thought that a person of my race could sit anywhere and eat anywhere, but we ate in one of the finest restaurants in Hartford. This is a 15-year-old boy who's outside of the segregated South for the very first time. This is the first time he's ever been able to go to a restaurant and not worry about having been told to get up, or not have to worry about being accosted by police, or worry about the degenerating signs that say white only or colored only. And he is amazed. His friends say that summer he begins walking around saying Connecticut is God's country, because this must be how God wants everyone to live. Something else happened that summer. For the first time, King worshiped at a white church with white Christians. He went to a local church in Simsbury. He was sitting in the back. I found this amazing interview on Connecticut Public Television who retold the story with the minister of music. They heard King singing in the back row with that rich baritone voice that we know he has. The minister of music said he came to Martin and said, "You have a beautiful voice. I want you to join the choir." The minister says he remembers Martin saying, "Where I come from, blacks and whites don't sing together." And the minister said, "I'm not worried about the color of your skin. I'm worried about your voice, and you can sing. Come join the choir." So King wrote home that to his parents, Negroes and whites go to the same church. He couldn't believe it. He was floored. He was blown away about this idea of worshiping together. This is where King starts to have the freedom dreams that we know and we've heard him speak of as a teenage boy in Connecticut. Now, some of the other letters that King wrote we have access to, and this is here of his handwriting, writing home to his father, and this is perhaps one of the most important letters here. He says, we have service here every Sunday about 8 o'clock, and I am the religious leader. Now, what is it about a boy who arrived at 15 years old, swearing off the ministry, somehow is now elected the religious leader? Now, I've tried to figure out how this happened. I know that his classmates voted him the religious leader, but I don't know why. It could have been simply because his father was a minister. Many people knew this, and so they thought that he would be good at leading them in worship. It could also be that he was a terrible tobacco worker. His friends voted him the laziest worker of the summer. So it could have been, we got to find something for this kid to do. But either way, this is where we know that King preaches his first sermons. The gentleman who will hold high steeple churches spellbound with his voice. The man who will speak in front of the Washington Monument, Lincoln Monument, there in Washington, D.C., and tell the word about a dream he had. That individual starts off preaching in a ramshackle tobacco barn. This is where King's preaching started. In a barn somewhere in Simsbury, Connecticut. That is the reason, that's the summer that King found that led him to want to serve society, to join the ministry. This is what's powerful about King's story, but not just King's story, but about all of you and what you do here at Rotary. This is not some supernatural event that happens. He doesn't see angels that come down and speak to him. He doesn't see a burning bush. He doesn't see a sea spread. It's everyday folks. Civic engagement. The opportunity to travel around and have in the speech contest. The opportunity to go off and work and gain money for tuition. The opportunity to come together and explore his curiosity, helped by a community and civic organizations. That's what leads Martin Luther King Jr. to believe that he has been called to serve. Now, King goes back to Morehouse after the summer. He refuses to major in theology. He's still fighting being a minister. He says, I don't want to be a minister. Don't want to be like my dad. His friends say in interviews that they came back from that summer amazed, and they're telling him, Martin, you may not want to do this, but man, you have a gift. He had friends who loved him enough not to lie to him. But yet he still refused. And they said that's all he wanted to talk about when they would get together, is why he shouldn't be a minister. They said they wanted to get together, talk about Negro League baseball, talk about girls, talk about school, and he would find a way to steer the conversation to say, and that's why I shouldn't be a minister. They said that some of them stopped hanging out with him because that's all he wanted to talk about. But he goes through college and he goes through Morehouse, and he has two important mentors. Dr. Benjamin Elijah Mays, who was president of the institution at the time, and a professor by the name of Dr. George Kelsey, who taught Bible. And just so happens that Bible is the only class King received an A in college. But he says these two gentlemen provided him with the image of what it means to be a minister. These guys were educated, they believed in modern science, they had PhDs, and they served the church and were activists in their community. And King says that these two men, these two are the one that gave him an image of what he could be as a minister. So he decides he's going to be a minister. But like many teenagers, he wants to keep a sense of autonomy, so he doesn't tell his parents. Tells his friends on campus, you know, I figured it out. I'm going to be a minister. They're like, gee, really, welcome to reality, man. Then he goes back to Connecticut. I haven't figured out exactly why. He didn't need the money. His father could have paid his tuition. He could have worked in Atlanta. But he went back to Connecticut before his senior year, summer of 1947. What I believe is that he went back because he wanted to go back to where it all started. He went back to Connecticut, worked in the hot tobacco fields. Don't know if he was voted laziest again, but I do know he was elected the religious leader and preached again that summer. But also something important happened to King that summer. He was stopped by the police. I couldn't find the details. I've tried and went through court records and newspapers and City Hall and couldn't find anything, but I know sometime at Hartford he was stopped by the police. His friends talked about it. And this was a moment at a time when there in Connecticut, they were trying to stop migrants from staying and working, African-American migrants from staying and working in Connecticut. So it's very possible he was accosted by the police simply because of his race. This is where King starts to realize the limits of Northern freedom. That although there were no Jim Crow signs, the North was far from a promised land. And so King is also schooled even at the early age of what it means to fight racism at every level. He goes back to Morehouse. He graduates with a sociology major and applies to go to divinity school, as I've mentioned. And as we say, the rest is history. So I want to leave you with three things. The first is about scholarship. And it's simply put that this story is so important because the scholarship on King has missed the point about how important Connecticut was. And this is what his close friend Andrew Young said. He said that throughout King's life, that King always referred back to the summers he spent in the tobacco fields. Andrew Young says, if it hadn't been for the tobacco fields, we might never have gotten the Martin Luther King Jr. we got. This is an important moment that's been missed in King's life and scholarship. He wasn't just born great. It was moments, communities, people in his life that helped to shape him, and traveling to Connecticut and preaching would help to shape and make him the king that we know. Now, secondly, this is very long. It goes against every rule they teach you about a slide having so much text on it, but I have to give you the full quote. The second is the idea of a superhero. This is what King says about his call to ministry. He says, my call to the ministry was neither dramatic nor spectacular. It came neither by some miraculous vision nor by some binding light experience on the road of life. Moreover, it did not come as a sudden realization. Rather, it was a response to the inner urge that gradually came upon me. This urge expressed itself in a desire to serve God and humanity through the ministry. At first, I'd planned to be a physician, then I turned my attention to the direction of law, but as I passed through the preparation stages of these two professions, I still felt within the undying urge to serve God and humanity through the ministry. Superheroes just aren't born, right? They're made. He had a gradual experience with civic organizations, with churches, with people, with friends, and that's how we got the king that we got. It's so important to realize that heroes aren't born, they're made. And finally, I want to leave you with this. It's the idea about serving. I hope if you take anything with you today, that you'll remember how important it is to serve. And all of you who are in this room, I know the importance of service because you're here. This is what King said. We all know that picture when he's assassinated there on the balcony in Memphis. The last words we know that King said is when he leaned over that balcony before he was shot. Someone said to him, Doc, make sure you bring a coat. It's going to be cold tonight. And the last words we know that King said was, I will. And then he was shot. The last words. I'll leave you with that. I hope that when your opportunity comes, this organization, you individually, when you are asked whether or not you are going to serve your community, to serve the most vulnerable, as Rod talked about, that when that question comes to each and every one of you, that you'll respond like Martin Luther King Jr. and say, I will. Thank you for your time. It's been an honor.
Dr. Lerone Martin, fabulous talk. What a fabulous talk, and how spot on for a group whose mission statement is service above self. So thank you. Folks, there's a lot of activities that we talked about that we can sign up to participate for Great Fellowship. I encourage you to check those out in the lobby. And I said previously that we're winding down the Rotary year. The theme to the walkout music is going to be about that upcoming thing. So we got summer coming. So I thought I'd lay this out today with Morgan Wallen's 7 Summers. It's about reminiscing about a fabulous relationship that's over. Not quite yet, and the memories that it leaves. So with that, I'll send you out with 7 Summers, and this show's a wrap, folks.